Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
Thank you, Brandy. Here at the Lake Mars boat launch is where the the search party is going to be set up. You can see here over my shoulder, the Jackson County Mobile Command Unit is already here and set, and there is a pickup truck on the other side of it for the Jackson County Sheriff's Office as well. Now, they were here yesterday looking and searching the area. What we know right now is that Nolan Wells was last seen without a shirt in blue swim trunks with some sunglasses on around 3 p.m. on the 4th of July over at Horn Island. Now, he went out there with some friends to celebrate the weekend and celebrate the holiday and has not been seen, like I said, since 3 p.m. Now, the search party is expected to continue today. The United Cajun Navy is expected to also take some aircrafts up in the air to help with the search efforts. Now, I've already heard about 2 planes go over my head this morning as well. We got a chance to speak with the United Cajun Navy earlier about this investigation moving forward.
You know, if you were one of the group that was with him, or if you were on the island and you were there and saw anything, please don't be afraid to come forward and tell the authorities exactly what you know, no matter what you might think might be some consequences or whatnot. But it's very important right now in these critical moments that we get truthful, confirmable information.
Now, the family and also Jackson County Sheriff's Department is looking for any information or any photos or videos that could have helped and could help pinpoint a timeline out there on the island on July 4th. If you were out there celebrating on Horn Island on Independence Day and you have anything that you feel like could prove or point to a person or timeline, it is asked that you send that in to the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. Live from Jackson County, Will Polson, WLOX News Now.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're live on Worldview Tube and our X-Basis Skymocast, and it is Whistleblower Wednesday. And what you just saw was local news reporting from back on July 6th when 18-year-old, I think he was 19, really, Nolan Wells first went missing after a 4th of July boat trip to an island called Horn Island out here off the Gulf Coast in Mississippi with some friends. Tragically, 2 days later, Nolan's body was recovered on the island, known for its dangerous rip currents. The initial assessment is drowning with no obvious signs of trauma, is what was reported then. But since then, this story has drawn national attention with Benjamin Crump and Al Sharpton, social justice chasers that now are heavily involved. And there's talk of a grand jury investigation. They did an independent autopsy that was just released today. Even before the official autopsy and toxicology tests have been released, they have already released their independent autopsy from the stage of the NAACP auditorium in Chicago, I might add. And I'm sure we've got some things to talk about there. So we're going to look at how the questions are unfolding, given we now know about the boat's GPS data, an exclusive interview of Nolan's friend by Brandon Tatum, who's a law enforcement background influencer himself, and came to Mississippi, shows evidence that doesn't match the racial narrative that's being pushed, and that the young men who were with Nolan that day deserve to have their full stories heard without the spin. And I hope that happens soon. At the end of the day, though, the bottom line is really simple. We've got a family and really an entire community. I live on the Gulf Coast, not in the town where they're from, but close by. And I'm part of this community, and the entire community is grieving and mourning the loss of this young man, and our prayers are with all of them. And to cut through the noise and get to the real facts from somebody who has been part of the search for Mr. Wells on Horn Island and heavily involved. We're joined right now by Brian Trasher of the United Cajun Navy, who you heard about, and you heard from him in that little clip. Brian, thank you for being here today. We appreciate it. I know you're very busy with everything that's going on. I guess where we start is tell folks the United Cajun Navy's involvement as this incident started to get reported and unfold.
On July 4th in the evening, I got a call from my incident commander, Josh Gill, and he said, "Hey, look, we've been getting tagged a lot on social media about a missing person off of Horn Island, young kid." And then eventually somebody got through to Josh that knew Nolan's mother, put him in touch with her. He spoke with her that night. They said that they were going to be going out the next morning on a boat toward Horn Island. That Nolan hadn't come home. He was with some friends. He never did come home. And so the next day, we about mid-morning, we hadn't heard any updates. We hadn't heard that he'd been found. He was still missing. So we had a couple of our volunteers from the Mississippi Gulf Coast go out on a boat with a drone and go canvass the island and then do a grid search around the island for several hours. That would have been 5 July, Sunday. The later that afternoon, the weather kind of picked up a little bit, and the guys aborted for safety reasons. So obviously by that night, there was still no sign of Nolan. At that point, I knew that they had his keys and his phone and all that, but they still no sign of him. So that's when we decided that the next morning we were going to put an aircraft up, because we knew that we were getting too far away from the last time he was seen alive. And I knew that just continuing to look in boats was just we weren't covering enough ground quickly enough. So, and you're a pilot like me, Colonel, so you can search 100 times more ground, especially in a water search, than you can with the boat, with an aircraft. So originally I was going to scramble one of our seaplanes out of Belchase, but one of my volunteers in Biloxi called me up and said, "Hey, look, I got a fixed wing over at Gulfport International." I said, "That's a lot closer." I met him 6 a.m. This would have been 6 July, Monday. At 06, we met. By 06:30, we were wheels up, flying over Horn Island. That exact tip, northwest tip, did not see anything as we flew south. Flew around the Ship Island, down to Chandelier Island, made our way back and forth several times. We were in the air about 2 hours when we noticed some law enforcement boats converging on to the northwest tip of Horn. We descended, circled around, noticed a law enforcement presence on the beach, and then that's when I noticed that there was a body laying at the shoreline.
That was on the 6th of July?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
and that was sometime between that was right around 0900 by the time I noticed all that on 6 July.
Now, you mentioned that the guys initially went out on surface vessels in their boats and everything.
Yeah.
Did they ever describe to you what things look like out at Horn Island on a day when a lot of people are out there? Were there people out there when they were out there looking?
There were other boats looking that day, because this was a Sunday, and again, the day after a holiday. It wasn't as crowded as July 4th, but there were recreational boaters out there. There was also Marine Patrol. I think maybe Coast Guard. I'm not 100% sure. But other private boats that seemed like they were searching and not fishing or just cruising around. And so we just presumed that they were friends of Nolan's, or just heard about the story and were out there looking. Our guys actually went to the island first, because one of my volunteers is actually a member of law enforcement on the Gulf Coast. He was on his day off, and he just said, "Hey, I fly a drone. I want to go out there and help." So kudos to him. And then our other guy that operated his own boat is actually a rescue specialist and a trainer. So two guys that were heavily credentialed to be doing what they're doing and volunteering for us that day. So we're grateful for them.
Yeah, absolutely are grateful for all of you guys stepping up like that immediately. I mean, sometimes government-owned forces aren't as responsive as what civilian volunteers can do. Matter of fact, that's why we have volunteer fire departments and rescue and those kind of things. So let me ask you this. When you made that plea, that was on 6 July on the clip I showed at the beginning of the show.
I
You
think that
made
might have
that.
been. I think that might have been five. No, that was 5 July because he wasn't
Was
found
it?
yet. It was
Was
the
it
night
5
before he
July?
found him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you made that plea for people to give information. Uh, was something driving you to ask for that at that point, or was that just a routine call for, hey, we need, if you were there, you know anything at all, even if you don't think it's important, you call it in.
Yeah, the reason why I think made the plea the way I did, honestly, was because I knew how many boats were out on the island that day. And so when you got hundreds of boats and X times that amount of people out there, you
Mm-hmm.
know people are taking pictures and videos and social media and all that. Every time somebody's in a situation like that, usually you get a ton of a cell phone video and pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured there's a lot of footage out there that day that people did not know, had no idea how significant it could be. And
Right.
so I was just saying, hey, if and at that point, like law enforcement, the parents, and all that were already asking for all this. But Colonel, one of the advantages that we have is a lot of people who don't like talking to law enforcement for whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason don't mind talking to us,
Right.
and so we can kind of protect anonymity. Anybody that calls me up, I'm not going to ask for their ID. They don't even have to tell me their name, but I'm not going to be running a background check to see if they got any
Mm-hmm.
open warrants or anything. I don't care about any of that. I just want to know
Right.
what they know. And so sometimes people feel more comfortable. And so I figure we might be able to elicit more information that way. And we did get flooded with a lot of pictures and emails. I'm still getting them to
Mm-hmm.
today. I'm still getting them
Wow.
every day. People sending me videos. Hey, what do you think this is? Does this look like a head in the water? Is
Mm-hmm.
this like Nolan on this boat? Like, you know what I mean? There's just a lot, and anything that I think is like significant or good enough, we're going to forward to the right people. But a lot of it is just, in my opinion, like just inconclusive.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I waited to do this show until now. Obviously, I didn't know when we scheduled it last week that Crump was going to release the independent autopsy
Right.
today and everything. And
I knew it'd
and
be after the funeral,
yeah,
so I figured
yeah,
it'd be pretty
yeah.
soon.
But the reason I did that is because I saw almost immediately, and I'm not real active on Facebook, although I have a lot of followers and an account there, and I post regularly. I don't watch it very
Right.
often, but I saw immediately this kind of craziness people stirred up. Wasn't sure what was going on with it. So I reached out to you and said, I asked you if you guys were involved and everything. And that was it. I didn't do anything else. I really haven't said that much because it turned out the people are getting stirred up because this whole racial narrative seemed to start like right away on
Yeah.
social media. And you guys do a lot of work on social media. Did you see that immediately like that? I mean, I saw it the same day that the report came out.
We did. I mean, right away. And this was like this was kind of like a reverse of what you see in a lot of racial narratives, where usually a racial narrative is like, like there's a victim, who might be black. Maybe it has to do with like a police encounter or something like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
But in this case, what I was seeing was a lot of people who at least identified themselves as African American who were upset, for lack of a better word, that
Mm-hmm.
Nolan had such a diverse group of friends. They were like, why was he hanging around with so many white people? Like, why was he friends with so many white kids? And these are people who have never, I'd be surprised if they ever step foot in the state of Mississippi, but never on the Gulf Coast, never in an affluent community like Ocean Springs, where you see it's kind of, the segregation in towns like that is more economic than it is racial. You know that.
Yeah.
Like, so, I
Yeah.
mean,
Exactly.
kids whose parents probably have about the same amount of money and same size houses all hang out with each other and so on and
Mm-hmm.
so forth.
Yeah.
But Nolan, the more I've learned about him, he's had a diverse group of friends since he was a toddler. It's the community he lived in. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like his parents they live in that community. They're well known in that community. They have a really beautiful home there. Like they're upper middle class to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I just was surprised to see people taken aback that this young, black male football player like had so many white friends and was hanging out. And what they don't know is that all they keep posting these pictures of him with these kids on the boat and on the beach. These are kids that he went to kindergarten with and
Yeah.
played
Yeah.
little league with and went to high school with and still hangs out with on a regular basis. The same kids you can see in Nolan's old social media posts. You can see them all together at dances, at parties. Like this was his friends. So,
yeah.
It speaks more about his character than the people criticizing him.
Yeah, it's interesting. We can get into this in the next segment. I got to take a break real quick, but I'll just set the stage with this is a military community here too, and a heavily government contractor community in addition to being military. And we don't really give a damn what you look like, and that's the way people are here. I mean, it's different probably than a lot of other parts of the world, but we don't care what you're like, and we all grow up together. Is what I'm hearing, just like any other military community. So
the only discrimination we do down here at the Gulf of America, Colonel, is how many horsepower is on your motor. Because if you're running around with like a 25 and I got like a 350, like I'm gonna rib you. You know what I mean?
Or if you're a sailboat guy versus a motor guy, the sailboat guy is going to lose every time.
Every time.
All right, I'll be right back with Brian Trasher of the United Cajun Navy. We're talking about the tragedy of the death of Nolan Wells and what's going on with that. And we'll be right back.
At a certain age, you stop chasing younger. You start protecting what helps you feel steady, strong, and well. Your body's collagen matters. It supports the structure of your skin, joints, and connective tissue. But as the years go by, your body needs more support from the inside. That's where Bella Grace Elixir comes in. Bella Grace Elixir combines Verisol collagen, the world's most clinically proven collagen, with asteryl astaxanthin and cat's claw in a proprietary blend designed to help support the processes that reconstruct collagen, while also offering antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. And this isn't just for women. It's for men and women who want to age with more confidence, more care, and a daily wellness routine that supports the body from within. One simple elixir, thoughtfully formulated for whole body wellness. Take care of the body that has carried you this far. Order Bella Grace Elixir today at melissahousebg.com.
We continue to be steadfast and trying to get to the truth.
Tonight, the parents of Nolan Wells and their legal team, led by attorney Ben Crump, received some assurances by the thoroughness of the investigation. As tips pour in,
we're getting about 50 calls a day to 100 calls a day.
It's been agreed Wells's cell phone will undergo a mutual inspection by the DA's office and experts from Crump's legal team.
The hope is that when this is presented to the grand jury, all relevant witnesses and evidence will be presented to them so that we can have a fair and impartial investigation.
The phone could be a key piece of evidence in the investigation, as Wells's mother expressed concerns about possible deleted material.
So when me and my sister went through it, there was nothing. No saved videos, there was nothing in there.
The 18-year-old college football player was last seen on July 4th on a boating trip with friends to Horn Island, 10 miles from Mississippi's Gulf Coast. GPS data obtained by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources shows the boat arriving at the island at 11:14 a.m. Friends he was with told investigators Wells chose to stay on the island as they left. His mother reported him missing that night.
Please report her 18-year-old son, Nolan Wells, missing last seen at 3 on Horn Island.
After a 2-day search, his body washed up on the island. For the family, there are so many unanswered questions about what happened that day.
If this was your son, if this was your daughter, wouldn't you want desperately to get to the truth?
Wells's funeral is set for Monday. Meanwhile, the family is still awaiting the results of the state-conducted autopsy, as well as one that was conducted by the family's legal team. Tony?
All right, Skylar, thank you.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast, and it's Whistleblower Wednesday, and we're talking about the tragic loss of Nolan Wells. And my guest today is United Cajun Navy's Brian Trasher. Brian, that was before the funeral, but The individual talking is Benjamin Crump. He's a well-known nationwide social justice race attorney. Look, the parents have every right, and I expect them to have all of their questions answered that are answerable by the authorities, by the official authorities. Every parent, in my opinion, should have that expectation. But we mentioned the social media narrative building right away in the last segment. What really has disturbed me a little bit about this is, and I don't, and the parents can call on Mr. Crump, Mr. Sharpton. I wouldn't advise them to do that, but I'm not them, and they did that, so that is what it is.
Yeah.
And even then, in that clip, I picked it because he's doing what I would expect my attorney to do if I had hired an attorney in this situation to help me navigate this. And I don't hear anything like outlandish in building some narrative that is probably not going to turn out to be true at this point. But I do get concerned when I hear things like, we want to be able to put this before a grand jury. Well, a grand jury is usually about criminal indictment, right? So that's where I started getting concerned. I'm like, well, these kids all grew up together, and it's not like they went out there by themselves and were partying and one of them didn't come home. That's not the real situation, is it?
Not according to eyewitnesses, no. And going back to, Crump and his team, they swooped in fairly early, right? Swooped in fairly early on this case. And I've heard Christine Wells, Nolan's mother, I've heard her say on several occasions that obviously she wants answers. I mean, there is a gaping hole between approximately 4:30 in the afternoon on 4th of July and the time Nolan's body washed up on Monday morning, where nobody seems to know what in hell happened to him. Nobody has any pictures and any eyewitness accounts of him being anywhere with anybody. Something swift and serious happened, obviously, within those hours. But she, like I keep saying, I mean, I know everybody knows what Crump and Sharpton do and how they make their money and all that kind of stuff. However, playing devil's advocate, they are bringing her more resources than she would ever be able to obtain on her own. And more attention than she'd ever be able to obtain on her own. So I think in her mind, she's like, hey, I need help, and these guys are offering help and a lot of it, and so I'm going to take it. Now, I hope that the public doesn't then loop Christine and Elmore into the Al Sharptons and the Ben Crumps of the world, because they really are good, honest, hardworking people who just had an unimaginable tragedy and are just probably doing everything they can to stay above water right now. Bad analogy. Just do everything they can just to kind of stay sane right now. I hope that doesn't happen for them. But yeah, going back to the narratives of what happened that night and the stories that the friends, apparently the boat that Nolan went out on was taking water. The bilge wasn't working. We've now heard about them calling in for help, and from Seatow, then calling off the help. Then they got towed for a few miles, presumably, and it's a speculation, just as an advanced boater. If they had water, they probably during that tow they were bailing the water out, meaning pulling a plug and getting the water to run out of the boat that had picked up. Once that boat was dewatered, then it could run normally on its own with a normal amount of weight. And then they apparently took off on their own and then made, a few stops when they got back on land. I know people say, well, a teenager would never leave his phone behind. Nolan put his phone and his keys in the boat because he didn't want him to get wet. He was playing in the water, walking on the beach. I heard there was other kids that weren't even on that boat that were friends with those kids and put their phone on the boat just to keep it dry while they were in the water. Now, leaving, Nolan staying behind and not taking his phone with him, yeah, I can see some problems with that. Like if I had to guess, I'd say probably maybe didn't know they were leaving as soon as they said they would, even if he said, oh, I'm going to stay behind and catch another ride. Maybe he didn't think they were leaving yet and he'd have a chance to go. Maybe he was in the middle of a conversation and was going to go get his phone later. And then when he went back to where the boat was, it was gone already. I don't know. But there's obviously, They're right. Most teenagers wouldn't leave their phone. Then this whole story come up about like missing messages, and then I hear his mother clarify that well, he used Snapchat a lot, and there wasn't any Snapchats from that day. And then some people say, well, yeah, Snapchat, deletes automatically after 24 hours, but it hadn't been 24 hours. I think the reason why there was no Snapchats on his phone is because he didn't have a signal. You can't upload if you don't have a signal. I know I don't have a signal on my phone. I have a T-Mobile, and I don't have a signal on Horn Island. And I think that that's why he wasn't using Snapchat. I don't think that there's been any evidence presented, at least that I've seen, that anything was physically deleted from the phone. And then people start criticizing their friends. Oh, well, they deleted their social media and they lawyered up. Well, everybody lawyered up, from the family to all the friends, and they deleted their social media because they were getting death threats. And they were being accused of horrible crimes against their friend. And so it just turned into it turned into a circus really fast, and it got out of control, and it's still out of control. And then there's still, misinformation out there. Like Crump in a press conference today said the United Cajun Navy told the family he was fully clothed when they found him. That is not true. I have not told the family anything about. I didn't even tell him I saw the body. There was just no reason for me to tell him that. And I saw it from the air. So it's not like I was on the beach and got a good look. But I didn't tell him anything. And I don't know why Crump said that, but again, he kind of has a history of having a casual relationship with the truth. So I'm sure at the time he thought it was going to help his narrative of putting the state of Mississippi on trial for 67-year-old crimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, we can get to the autopsy, the independent autopsy press conference, whatever that was today, in a minute. But as far as the facts that we know that have come out over time, the GPS track of the kid's boat, do we know if that matched up with the story that they've been that when they gave their testimony to? I'm sure they've talked to the authorities.
I'm sure they did, and I'm not privy to those interviews, but everything that those kids were telling. And I didn't talk to any of the kids, but I talked to parents who knew the kids, right? And the stories they were telling them pretty well matched up with what they said as far as like timelines and where they went and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if they specifically said the route they took to come back, because again, according to the GPS, they made a few different land stops before ultimately pulling the boat out of the water. But I haven't heard anybody tell me that there was major inconsistencies with the those accounts, recounts of what happened and what actually the GPS showed. We're also talking about a bunch of teenagers who may have been drinking beer that day. So was their recollection a little foggy? I don't know, and I'm not trying to accuse these kids, but there's pictures of them with beer cans in their hands. So presumably they had a few sips, right? I don't think it's a stretch to say that.
Yeah. In the cold open video for the next segment, Brandon Tatum has been down here. He's ex-law enforcement, and I've reached out to them trying to get a hold of him. But he interviewed Mr. Hudson, I think is the gentleman's name, who is the best friend of Nolan, and we'll wait till the clip to see what he says. But I don't have no problem if they were out having a drink on the island, as long as somebody was able to drive the boat and all that. I have no issues at this point. I don't really care. What I care about is that the family can get to the truth and we find out what really happened to this young man. Because
when I was 18 years old, 100 years ago, it was actually legal to drink. Just so happened that the laws changed.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And this guy and the guys that he was with, the friends, like you said, they went to kindergarten together. Yeah. This is not just some 3 or 4 white guys getting together with giving a black dude a black man a ride, and then something bad happens. That's not what this is. But if something bad did happen after they left, we need to know about that from a societal perspective. But the parents need to know about that. I mean, that's the big thing that I have, that I'm praying that they get resolution on the facts.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%.
All right, we got to take this break. When we come back, we'll see a clip from Brandon Tatum's exclusive interview with, I believe it's Mr. Hudson, who is the best friend of Nolan Wells and the owner-driver of the biggest boat in this story. We'll be right back.
Take a look at the water you just poured. It looks clean. It tastes fine. But what's really in it? Lead, fluoride, arsenic, chlorine, pesticides, PFAS forever chemicals, pharmaceutical residues, and bacteria. Every single day, these toxins flow straight from your tap into your glass, into your family. It's time for Sentry H2O from Worldview Water. Sentry H2O is the ultimate water treatment technology, designed to remove harmful toxins, balance your water's pH, and enrich it with essential minerals like calcium and magnesium, the way nature intended. From commercial scale systems to whole house filtration to crisp, delicious drinking water right at your kitchen sink and shower, Sentry H2O delivers cleaner, healthier water everywhere you need it. No plumber, no tools, no plumbing knowledge required. Perfect for homes, apartments, rentals, RVs, refrigerators, and more. Because everyone deserves access to clean, healthy water. Visit worldviewwater.net. That's worldviewwater.net.
Gotta say something real quick. Benjamin Crump should be ashamed of himself. Al Sharpton should be ashamed of themselves. I'm right here in Mississippi. It's crazy that I had to fly down here to even get this information. They've been lying on these boys. I got evidence, and I'm gonna show it to you, and I'm gonna lay it out for you. It is a shame that boy Nolan did not get the respect that he deserved. In my opinion, they turned his death into a racial thing, destroying the community. You name it, they did it. And we got evidence that it wasn't just 4 boys with him. We got evidence that they asked Nolan to get back on the boat, and he refused to because he grown. We got evidence that the boys reached out to the parents, that Benjamin Crump and them didn't refuse to reach out to these boys. And I've talked to them. I've seen the evidence with my own eyes. I've seen that there was more than just 4 people. There was 3 boats full of kids. I know that they left and they had nothing to do with this. And instead of them saying and standing up for these boys and saying, look, we don't know what happened. We want justice for Nolan. These boys didn't have no involvement. Instead, they want to make it about race. And it is a shame. And I'm so heated, man. I went out to Horn Island. We got all the video. We got the interviews. The boys wanted to talk to me because I'm the only one there to give them a voice because everybody else is fake, fraudulent, looking out for themselves. And it's a shame, man. It's a shame. Nolan deserved better than what they did. They out here hoodwinking, trying to raise money and make stuff about race, and they have no evidence. They lied about the phone getting deleted. It's a shame, man. But y'all finna find out, and a lot of y'all gonna have to apologize for the stuff that you said. You're gonna have to take that video down and apologize because you are part of the lie.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show, and it's Whistleblower Wednesday, and we're talking about the tragic death on July 4th of Nolan Wells, who was, by all accounts, a great young man, college football player, well on his way, had great friends and everything, and that was Brandon Tatum right there. He is go to his X accounts, folks, Brandon Tatum. He's ex-law enforcement. But he came down and he did an exclusive interview, and I want you to go, please check out the interviews he did with these young men that were with Nolan that day. One of them's his best friend, and these young men's stories deserve to be told, not because of them, but because of the honor they do to Mr. Wells. Because they loved each other, and you can tell. I've only been able to watch about 30 minutes of the interviews on Brandon's account, but you can tell that these men loved each other. They'd grown up together all their lives, and it honors Mr. Wells to hear them be able to tell the story from their perspective. And they're being attacked. And my guest today is United Cajun Navy's Brian Trasher. UCN has been involved in the search and rescue operation since the very beginning, and we are very thankful for them and their volunteers locally here for stepping in such a timely manner. And Brian, I think Brandon's right to be incensed about all this. I watched the press conference of the release of the interim or the independent autopsy results today by Mr. Crump up on the NAACP stage in Chicago, and aside from the factual information that he read out of the report, which Nolan's parents were in the audience there. I'm not so sure it was a great idea to read some of that stuff, but that's on them, But Trump went into, and the head of the NAACP, who I think is from Mississippi too, also went into like Emmett Till, Medgar Evers, it's like I don't know what it is, but it's like they're trying to say, well, this happened in Mississippi. It has to be the white kids took out the black kid kind of situation. And that's just not right. That's not right for the parents. That's not right for Nolan and his memory.
Well, let's talk about this for a second. If we're going to talk about Mississippi's past, let's talk about America's past, and let's talk about where we are now. On the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country, Nolan Wells, a young black man, was hanging out at a party on an island with a bunch of his white friends. 50, 60 years ago, he wouldn't have been allowed to be on that island hanging out with white kids. 250 years ago, he probably would have belonged to somebody, like been somebody's property. And it's hard to even imagine that now today, but that would have been the truth 250 years ago. It probably would have been the truth, I should say.
Yeah.
So let's think about how far we've come now with the fact that Nolan Wells was a free man, free to be friends with whoever he wanted, free to go to parties and be social and recreational wherever he wanted, without any hindrances or roadblocks. So to bring up the past, let's face it, Emmett Till was murdered. We know that. Medgar Evers was assassinated. We don't know how Nolan Wells died. We think he drowned. There's going to be a cause of death that's going to come out. I thought it was interesting that the independent autopsy couldn't determine. I almost think that, and again, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a medical examiner, but I had talked to some doctors that said it's pretty ludicrous for any doctor to come out and say they don't know. They think they were probably told to say that it's inconclusive pending an investigation. Now, I did hear that there was, I hate to say it, but like missing body parts because of the first autopsy and things like that. So maybe there wasn't enough there for them to make a conclusive report. But to announce it on the stage at an NAACP convention with all this fanfare, I think if they had something, I think if they thought for a minute that they had a smoking gun, they would have immediately held a live press conference wherever they were at and not done it from this stage in Chicago. Again, I hate to see the parents caught up in the circus because they are good people, but I think they're kind of pot committed to this team that's been helping them out, and they're just riding the wave. And at the end of the day, I know all they want is answers. I know they want somebody to definitively tell them, this is how Nolan died. This is what we think happened. This is what his last moments would have been like. And they've now buried the child, so they just have to move on, with their lives. And I know it's easier said than done. They're never going to be the same again, but I mean, they still have lives to live, and they have 18 years worth of memories to carry in their hearts forever of Nolan. And that's just kind of the place they have to get to mentally and emotionally.
Yeah. The sad part is there was nothing in the interim autopsy. I mean, the doctor is one of the best. I think he's the best in the business, if not one of the best in the business that they used. Actually wrote it in his report that their body parts being missing is not unusual.
No,
I'm paraphrasing him, not quoting him, but he wrote it in the report that was not unusual, not out of the ordinary. Even the part about the throat, the pieces of the throat that he would have looked at in a first autopsy, he said they weren't there, and likely, and again, that's not abnormal because it's likely kept it for further testing or evidentiary reasons and those kind of things, and all of that makes sense. The other thing, he had to say that the tox test and the government autopsy haven't been completed yet, so he can't make any determination about cause of death and manner of death, right?
Yeah, and they were talking about like the contusion on the back of his skull. And I was on another interview today where there's a panel, and on that panel was a medical examiner from Texas, and he said, that could just be normal blood pooling, which can happen after you're dead. They don't remove all the blood during an autopsy. He said it could have been that he was congested, and that's like, so he started naming off a bunch of things it could have been, but he did conclude his opinion by saying, based on what he heard on that report, that he can't make there's not enough information there for him to feel comfortable giving a professional opinion. He was just given just sort of like it could be this, could be that sort of play by play. So I thought that was interesting because I don't know the first thing about pathology. You know what I mean? Like I've seen a lot of dead bodies. It doesn't mean I know what I'm looking at as far as, cause of death and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I've supervised two large medical facilities, both of which had morgues and did autopsies in the Air Force. And the reason why the government autopsy hasn't been released more than likely is because the toxicology report isn't back yet. You want to release all of that information together at one time to give to the next of kin and for the public's information too. You don't want to do it in pieces, which is why it surprised me a little bit that Crump and the NAACP guys wanted to go ahead and release this before the first autopsy is finalized, especially the tox report. It leads me to believe, and I'm going to speculate just a second, that they think there's something in there that's going to detract from the media, communication of this
I think that they have a good idea of what that official autopsy is going to say, and it's not going to be good for their so that they want to get all this again. That's why they did it on a big stage, where they did it and all that. And you got to try to milk this for everything they can before the cow dies.
Yeah, one of the words that keeps coming up, and it's good because from the parents' perspective, this is what they should be demanding. Transparency keeps coming up. You guys on United Cajun Navy, like you mentioned before, you can take anonymous reports and gather information, and you do gather information on incidents like this. Has the Crump team been communicating with you guys? Are you feeding them information, or can you talk about that?
No, we actually offered early on some services, such as like taking, if they had any like private investigators or their lawyers or anything like that out to Horn Island, or just showing them where the body was discovered. We even offered to, there were some stories out there that like, the boat, like people were saying, the boat went back out. So they think Nolan, when the fake picture came out with the pool party and all that, so they're saying that was the night of July 4th. And they say, he did come back, and they killed him. They brought him back out there and dumped him and all this kind of stuff. All that fell apart very quickly. Number one, when they found out the pool party photo was from like a week earlier. And then number two, the more and more eyewitnesses talked, they had placed him on the island after his friends had left. However, having said all that, the boat that Nolan supposedly rode on and when it had brought back his keys and his phone and all that, we offered to have our canine dogs inspect that boat for decomposition. The dog would know if there was a dead body on that boat. They said, we heard that they clean the boat. I'm like, well, yeah, it's pretty normal to clean a boat after it's been in salt water all day. I said, but there's only one kind of chemical that can get rid of decomposition. You'd have to do a pretty thorough job. You'd have to know what you were doing. And I know these people don't even know what kind of chemical that is, or how to properly how to clean it up to throw off trained cadaver dogs. And so the dogs would know right away, and they declined. They didn't want us to do that.
That's an interesting question. I hadn't thought of that. Because it doesn't matter how long a person's been dead. A cadaver dog,
it could be a month. It could be a month. The dog
it could be a few minutes, and the dog will smell
that plane that crashed in Lake Pontchartrain in December with those two pilots from the Gulf Coast. Our dog smelled the decomp in 13 feet of water from the boat.
Oh man.
So you ain't fooling these dogs.
Yeah, you're not. Well, we got to take one more break.
That's how we found that plane. She hit twice in the same spot. We put a diver down, and the fuselage of the plane was down there. So
that's amazing.
There's no amount of cleaning that any civilian without experience would be able to do to throw these dogs off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brian, we got to take one more break. When we come back, I wanted to play a clip from the family. His mom will be in this next clip. And just fair warning, it's emotional, folks, because this family is heartbroken. And nothing will ever replace this young man for them. So we'll be right back with United Cajun Navy's Brian Thrasher.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed.
We thank you, Lord, for the beautiful 18 years that you blessed us with him. Thank you for the joy he brought not only to our family, but also to his friends and everyone in the community whose lives he touched. We will miss everything about him, from his quiet nature to the corny jokes, his gentle smile, the way he made everyone around him feel comfortable, loved, and at ease. Your absence has left an emptiness that can never truly be filled. A piece of our hearts will always be missing.
I want to start off by saying how proud I am of you, my son. You grew up to be a very young man that everyone enjoyed to be around. The constant lectures from me about having character, self-respect, self-discipline, and perseverance really hit home with you at an early age. You were not just making a name for yourself on the football field, the basketball court, and the baseball diamond, but you were also laying the groundwork for your little brother Elmore. I nicknamed you Mr. Cool Hands because it seemed like you was catching a touchdown every game. You wanted to be the best. So I poured all my knowledge into you.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Whistleblower Wednesday, and we're discussing the tragic death of Nolan Wells, a young man that was very much loved by his family and friends, and it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy of his loss and a tragedy for the family, but it's also a tragedy for his friends who are being accused of doing something wrong before the investigation's even been completed. The main autopsy's not out yet, but the Crump team went ahead and released the independent autopsy with a lot of missing information, because you have to have the first autopsy results really to have the complete picture, as the doctor and the forensics doctor in the independent autopsy pointed out several times in his report, that it's normal for things to be missing, and that he couldn't make a determination on certain aspects of it, like cause of death, the manner of death, and those kind of things. So my guest today is United Cajun Navy's Brian Thrasher. UCN has been here from moment one, on the ground, in the air, and supporting this family. And Brian, when I watched Brandon Tatum's interview of Mr. Hudson, who was the guy with the main boat, and I say main boat because apparently there were 3 boats with somewhere between 20 and 30 people in them that all went out together to Horn Island. which tells you it paints a totally different picture than what comes through from the media transmissions and communications through the Crump team, doesn't it?
You know, one of the things that a lot of these media types that I've talked to over the last couple of weeks, that are from New York, California, Atlanta, wherever, have all said, "Hey, look, I'm not trying to sound dumb here, but like, what's Horn Island? Like, what is it?" And I'm like, "Look," I said, you're in California, like San Diego, you got Catalina Island, you got Avalon. On the East Coast, the Carolinas, you got the Outer Banks. In New York, you got the Hamptons. Like, it's a barrier island. It might not be as fancy as those places, but it's a barrier island with a pretty beach and pretty water. And people go out there in their boats and they hang out recreationally. There's nothing on it. There's no hotels, there's no resorts, restaurants, bars, anything like that. You got to bring everything you want to have with you. But it's what, you know, us Gulf of America people do on Fourth of July. So yeah, I told you that to tell you that how much it highlights just how much people don't know about the Gulf Coast and its culture and things. That's why they jump to a lot of conclusions and got a lot of things wrong. You know, trying to be first means that they sometimes not the most accurate, and that did not change in this situation from the media perspective. But I will say there's a lot of networks and print publications that have reached out that, you know, these reporters genuinely just wanted to know what happened. They wanted to know our involvement, what was our opinion of what happened, all that kind of stuff. They really just wanted to get the story and not create one. So I appreciate those folks.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that too, which is pleasantly surprising because you know, it used to be the local networks and press were the not only most accurate but the most reliable.
Yeah,
you know, but that's changed a lot over the last 20 years or so. But so it's a pleasant surprise to hear that, and the coverage that I've been watching has been saying that too. The interesting part, though, and I wanted to show that clip of his parents at the funeral, because the rest of the funeral has been criticized by some people as being more like a rally than a funeral. You probably saw Al Sharpton was in the clip. Crump was there, and those kind of things. And I didn't see much other coverage than that one little clip there. Is that accurate, or are people just saying that because it's Crump and Sharpton are involved?
So there was two events. There was a funeral, a repast service, right, and then there was what his mother called a celebration of life. She even said when she announced the plans for the funeral that Nolan would not have liked a bunch of people standing around crying about him, so she wanted to have it feel more like a party, something that he would have enjoyed attending himself. So I did see, you know, pictures of, you know, kind of some lively folks, and that's common for the celebration of life type event. So I think that is probably what you saw clips of. It was not the actual, like, you know, casket in the room event.
Mm-hmm. And we wish them all the success in the world to get the information that will help them come to grips with this. I mean, you never get over losing a child, I know. No. So that's why the whole community is praying for them. Has the United Cajun Navy reached any conclusions based on the facts that you guys have experienced about this whole incident?
You know, everything I know and everything I've been told from people who, you know, were there when he was recovered and everything like that. And again, there's a whole lot to this investigation that I'm not privy to. I'll probably never find out about unless there's some kind of grand jury indictment or a trial, or I have no doubt there's going to be some civil suits come out of this. So point being that based on what I know, it appears that that he died of drowning. Now, what I don't know is how he got in the water. Was he pushed in? Did he get sucked in by a rip current? Did a boat come by and hit him and knocked him out? Did he, you know, I just don't know. But it does seem to me that based on what I was told was the condition of the body, it seemed like there was a drowning and, you know, coming to some contact with marine life while he was floating for 2 days. But other than that, there wasn't any visible signs of trauma or foul play, which is why the sheriff said what he said initially. But that's why we have autopsies. In this case, we're going to have two. So you let the doctors go in and do their thing and really give it a really good medical look and tell us this is how we think his life ended. And people are just going to have to accept those results, whatever they are. Not everybody's going to, but you just, what choice do you have, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a big gap. The question of why did he leave his phone and keys on the boat that went back early, and then that gap of time between then and where he was found on shore on Horn Island. I mean that's the big place where the parents need as many more answers than they probably are going to get, I would imagine. But hopefully the law enforcement guys can get them at least some answers, and I'm sure there will be. But nobody's perfect, and nothing's perfect. I hope they're prepared for the information in the tox results, because I would be willing to bet there's probably some partying going on that involves some beverages that maybe they weren't all old enough to drink legally.
And one thing we got to keep in mind is that there's people who probably know something that have either talked to investigators or the parents know that they know something, not necessarily that there was foul play, but I'm saying they know something. But they probably hired an attorney, and the attorney's telling them, hey, you don't have to say anything until you are given a subpoena or a warrant or something like that. And so we're just gonna lean on our rights until we have to submit, and then maybe we get some information that way. But yeah, they're not just going to go out there and just start yapping about everything they know, because you don't want to end up incriminating yourself, and everybody has a right to not incriminate themselves and have legal counsel. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's smart, especially given the craziness of the narrative that's trying to be built by some people out there. Because once the facts are known, all the facts that are knowable can be known. We want the parents and the community to have confidence in those, and if other witnesses are out there, talking out of turn, before there's any kind of hearing or deposition or a court appearance and those kind of things, is the wrong way to go. It's just the wrong way to go. So his mom seems like a nice like they seem like good people, his parents. Have they said anything about the death threats to, I think one of the kids' moms is a local judge down here that he was with among his friends. Have they said anything publicly about the death threats and those kind of things?
Yeah, Christine did an interview a while back where she said that she was made aware that people were being threatened and accused of things and all that, and she said that needs to stop. We need to have the facts, and just they're making things harder on everybody, including them, by spreading this misinformation and making accusations without knowing any facts. So yeah, she was on there, and look, even the local NAACP very early on came out and said, hey, look, we're keeping an eye on this. Like, we're very interested to see, that there's transparency and professionalism, but like, again, don't jump to conclusions. Let's wait until we see some facts. And so that's fortunately been, some responsibility taken by, and these are locals, right? So, I mean, these people don't want their community burned down, you know what I'm saying, by a bunch of outsiders. So, so yeah, and that's just kind of what, now we got to wait for the state medical examiner, see if that jives with what the private autopsy says, and then just where the chips fall is where they fall at that point, Colonel. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're right to do that. It's on the community leadership and leaders, both formal and informal, to let the facts get out there, and make sure that they're all uncovered. I mean, that's their job. The government side, that's their job and their responsibility to Nolan, to his parents, and to the community. And I think the extremist group that showed up, there was one extremist group that showed up and marched through Ocean Springs on the protest, peaceful protest day, that probably got some folks' attention. That we need to be out there talking in a balanced way about this, and let the facts be developed so that they can be out there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't hear about any like violence or property damage or anything like that. So even though it's a group with quite a reputation, they seem to have behaved themselves, and if they really want to, if they want what they say and think about Mississippi to come to fruition, like start tearing up public property and committing violence in Jackson County, Mississippi, you're gonna find out real quick what the business end of the stick feels like.
Absolutely right. Well, man, we got Tropical Storm Bertha barreling through right now. I know you guys got work to do. Tell folks where they can find you, and I'll let you go.
Yeah, UnitedCajunNavy.org is our website. We're on all the social medias, just at United Cajun Navy. Just make sure you get the official Cajun Navy organization. Yeah, we have meteorologists out there on the scene, and we have our storm chasers and folks ready. It looks like Bertha's taking some shearing, so she might not be as strong, but you still got to watch for surge and flash flooding, possible tornadoes, all those kind of things that can disseminate from this kind of a low area, low pressure. So everybody have a plan, be ready to execute it. And if you get in trouble, call the United Cajun Navy.
Thanks, Brian. We appreciate you, and thank you guys. And we pray for y'all. And remember, pray for the Wells family, pray for Nolan, pray for his friends and their family. They are hurting too. They are lifelong brothers that loved each other. You can see it in everything that I've been able to see publicly. I'll see you tomorrow on Truth Thursday. Jeff Clark will be here from the Oversight Project. It'll be an interesting conversation, I'm sure. A lot of legal developments lately.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
What if millions around the world could access Bible teaching and worldview training